Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma. Sorry.
That's not really funny to people who've lost their kids to this vaccine. How dare you be so flippant, man?
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So she was, everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. In your head, like you're a cashier and I'm a bunch of bananas. I'm not bananas, you are.
Oh boy. Buckle up, the Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg saga isn't just a minor squabble, it's a full-blown Titanic-sized ideological collision. What we initially thought was a simple spat turned out to be a massive cultural showdown between free speech and woke policing. On one side, we have Maher, ever the provocateur, standing tall with his sharp logic and no-nonsense humor on the other. Whoopi ready to fire back with righteous indignation at anyone who doesn't toe the ideological line. This isn't just about the celebrities taking shots at each other. It's a battle over society's soul. Comedy versus cancel culture. Reason versus outrage. And right in the middle of this battlefield is Bill Maher, calm but razor sharp, delivering a takedown Hollywood didn't see coming. Let's dive into the drama and pull back the curtain on the hypocrisy that the entertainment world desperately tries to keep hidden.
Everyone knows Corona is no walk in the park, because you literally can't walk in the park. But the same headlines. And stop showing us this. You know, everything looks scary when you magnify it 1,000 times. Here's a pubic hair. Boom!
Flashback to nearly 3 years ago. Bill Maher's frustration with the never-ending media circus around COVID was reaching a boiling point. While everyone else was hoarding toilet paper and boasting about their 37th booster shot, Maher was out here preaching something radical balance. Everyone knows Corona is no walk in the park, but at some point, the daily drumbeat of depression and terror veers into panic porn, he said. Pulling out the endless cycle of doom and gloom in the media, Maher didn't just stop at words. He demanded action. He urged society to adjust, adapt, and move on, rather than let fear dictate our lives forever. But oh no, the woke mob wasn't having it. To them, Maher's call for sanity was nothing short of blasphemy, suggesting a return to normal life that was as outrageous as skipping a mandatory woke seminar naturally. It wasn't long before Whoopi Goldberg, ever ready to pounce, weighed in. That's not funny to people who have lost their kids or loved ones to this virus. Whoopi snapped, her voice dripping with disdain. If you're not paying attention and you're coughing and sneezing, stay out of the public, she added, painting Maher's call for resilience is nothing short of reckless. That's not really funny to people who have lost their kids to this vaccine. Of people who've lost, you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody, because if you are the one who's not paying attention or still at risk, who cannot get vaccinated, people who can't get the little kids, the way she saw it, anyone questioning the prevailing narrative was putting lives at risk. Yet despite Whoopi's fiery takedown, public opinion wasn't on her side. If anything, Maher's message resonated far more than her indignant rebuke. People were tired of living in perpetual fear. Even executives at ABC, the network behind The View, seemed to side with Maher. They handed Whoopi a 2-week suspension, making it clear that not even Hollywood's elite could escape accountability forever. Fans of Maher gleefully called it karma, but Bill had a different take. Ever the realist, he dismissed the notion of karma altogether. Life is random, he declared, comparing Whoopi's suspension to a scene from the wild savannah. When a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and eaten by lions, it's hilarious. In this metaphor, Maher cast himself as the lion and Whoopi as the hapless hunter, armed with little more than outrage and moral superiority. The irony.
The irony? In the mid of the video, don't forget to subscribe my channel and like this video and share your thoughts in comments section below.
Hunting for someone to cancel, only to shoot themselves in the foot. Instead of crushing Maher, Whoopi found herself sidelined with nothing but a bruised ego and 2 weeks to reflect on her misfire. But did she learn her lesson? Not even close. Soon after her suspension, Whoopi found herself embroiled in yet another firestorm, this time over comments about the Holocaust. The Holocaust wasn't about race, she boldly claimed, insisting it was merely about man's inhumanity to man. Her remarks, which many viewed as dangerously misguided, sparked immediate outrage from Jewish communities. Worldwide, it didn't take long for the backlash to reach fever pitch. Critics pointed out the obvious: the Nazis' obsession with racial purity and their use of the swastika made it abundantly clear that race was central to the Holocaust. Yet instead of issuing a heartfelt apology, Whoopi doubled down on her stance. To me, race is about skin, she insisted, arguing that since Jews didn't fit her definition of race, the Holocaust couldn't have been racially motivated. Her defiance only made matters worse. Calls for her removal grew louder, and once again, ABC had no choice but to hand her another suspension. The incident highlighted a recurring theme: Whoopi's tendency to wade into controversial waters without fully understanding the gravity of her statements. If you are liking the video so far, please smash the white subscribe button. Let's continue meanwhile. Maher, ever the champion of free speech, surprised everyone by offering a surprising show of support. Despite their differences, he defended Whoopi's right to express her views, even if he vehemently disagreed with them.
The American experience tends to be based on skin.
Yes. And so that is what race means to me. I was saying you can't call this racism. This was evil. This wasn't based on the skin.
Whoopi Goldberg, who I hope is still a friend, should be cancelled, Maher said. Free speech means allowing people to say things, even if they're wrong. It was a classy move. Maher could have easily capitalized on Whoopi's blunder and destroyed her credibility. Instead, he stood by his principles, proving that he valued free speech over personal vendettas. Imagine if the roles had been reversed. Would the woke mob have extended the same courtesy to Maher? Not a chance. They would have pounced on him without hesitation. But Maher's calm strategic response only cemented his status as a rare voice of reason in a world increasingly driven by outrage. When he appeared on The View to promote his new book, the hosts tried to corner him once again. They hoped to exact revenge for his earlier criticisms of woke culture. Unfortunately for them, Maher was ready. In one memorable exchange, they tried to twist his words about wokeness, ruining everything. Maher didn't flinch. I didn't say it's ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get re-elected, he clarified. The hosts were left scrambling for a rebuttal, caught off guard by Maher's quick wit and unshakable confidence. Despite their best efforts, the hosts couldn't trap Maher. He effortlessly sidestepped their verbal ambushes with the precision of a seasoned debater. They wanted drama, but all they got was Maher's trademark poise and unapologetic clarity. He wasn't there to play their game. He was there to expose it. And then the moment of truth arrived. When the conversation shifted to more controversial topics like protests and public discourse, Maher delivered a blow that left the View panelists speechless. If I had any doubt that something had changed on the left watching people protest in support of a terrorist organization like Hamas, straightened me out pretty quick. He declared,
Well, I had a different question. But it struck me that in the first, I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
The air in the room grew tense. Maher didn't just challenge their narrative. He dismantled it with facts. No tiptoeing, no sugarcoating. His blunt honesty was a breath of fresh air, especially in a media landscape that often prioritizes feelings over truth. For a brief moment, it seemed like the hosts didn't know how to respond. They weren't prepared for someone who refused to back down or apologize for having an unpopular opinion. Maher stood firm, unyielding in his belief that free speech and logic must prevail, even when they make people uncomfortable. Realizing they couldn't pin him down, the hosts eventually shifted focus. But just when it seemed like things were cooling off, Whoopi decided to go in for another round. This time she took aim at one of Maher's core beliefs: free speech itself. This should be against the law, Whoopi exclaimed, referring to what she perceived as misinformation being spread by certain media figures. You shouldn't be able to lie to the American people. Knowingly, Maher, ever the defender of free expression, wasn't about to let that slide. He calmly reminded her of a fundamental truth. The First Amendment protects speech. Even speech you hate, that's the whole point. The tension escalated. Whoopi tried to frame Maher's stance as reckless, implying that unrestricted speech could lead to chaos. But Maher's response was swift and razor-sharp. He wasn't advocating for lies. He was advocating for open dialogue, the kind that allows society to challenge falsehoods and seek the truth without fear of censorship. And just like that, the tables turned. Once again, Maher didn't just defend his principles. He exposed the inherent contradictions in Whoopi's argument. For someone who often preached tolerance and understanding, her eagerness to shut down dissenting voices was frankly ironic. If you are liking the video so far, please smash the white subscribe button. Let's continue. But this wasn't the first time Whoopi had found herself entangled in controversy over free speech. Remember when she falsely accused a Staten Island bakery of refusing her service due to her politics? That incident became yet another example of her tendency to twist narratives for dramatic effect. Internet sleuths quickly identified the bakery in question as Halterman's beloved local institution with over 140 years of history.
When pressed for an explanation, the bakery clarified that their equipment frequently broke down, making it impossible to fulfill large orders on short notice. They hadn't even known the order was for Whoopi. Despite the bakery's reasonable explanation, Whoopi didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down on her claims, suggesting that political bias was somehow at play. But the internet wasn't buying it. Social media lit up with criticism, with many accusing her of manufacturing a scandal for sympathy. It was a PR disaster.
Whoopi had aimed for a David versus Goliath narrative, but instead she came across as someone willing to throw an innocent family-run business under the bus for the sake of a headline. The backlash was swift and brutal. Yet, despite all the criticism, Whoopi didn't seem to learn her lesson. Time and time again she returned to The View with the same righteous indignation, ready to lecture the audience on morality. But fans weren't having it. Many pointed out the glaring hypocrisy in her statements, especially when she tried to position herself as a relatable working-class woman. Whoopi, with her reported $60 million net worth and $8 million annual contract from ABC, claimed she worked for a living, just like everyone else. The irony wasn't lost on viewers. Many took to social media to call her out, highlighting the absurdity of someone with a lavish lifestyle pretending to understand the struggles of everyday Americans. One commenter summed it up perfectly. $60 million net worth and $8 million a year from The View. Please, you have all the money in the world. You don't know what it's like to have to work just to survive. Another wrote, "This is why we don't need Hollywood elites telling us who to vote for. They're completely out of touch with reality." But perhaps the most glaring example of Whoopi's detachment from reality came when she tried to defend the Democratic Party's handling of media narratives. The press makes it difficult for Democrats to get their message across, she claimed during a heated debate with Charlemagne God. Charlemagne, to his credit, didn't let that one slide. He pointed out that the Democrats had in fact benefited greatly from media bias, particularly when it came to burying stories like Hunter Biden's infamous laptop scandal. Maher later echoed this sentiment during one of his shows, calling out the media's blatant double standards. When the Hunter Biden story broke, they buried it, Maher said bluntly. They didn't want to risk the election going to Trump, so they decided to tell people after the fact. And we know that for a fact. He didn't mince words directly, confronting the media's role in shaping public perception. Whoopi tried to push back, but it was clear she was losing ground. Her attempts to downplay the significance of media bias only served to highlight the very problem Charlemagne and Maher were calling out. It was yet another instance where her argument fell flat, exposing the fragility of her stance. Despite her best efforts to steer the conversation, Whoopi's defense crumbled under the weight of facts and logic. Charlemagne didn't back down, and Maher's previous remarks lingered like a haunting echo. No matter how hard she tried to frame the media as an obstacle for Democrats. Viewers weren't buying it. The public could see the truth plain as day. When it came to controlling the narrative, the scales had always tipped in favor of the left. But Whoopi's penchant for doubling down didn't stop there. As the conversation dragged on, she once again suggested that sticking to high moral standards wasn't always necessary, claiming Democrats were unfairly held to a higher bar. Charlemagne's response priceless. He pointed out that the Democrats themselves had set that bar, constantly claiming the moral high ground. If you preach accountability, you'd better be ready to live by it, even when it's inconvenient. And that's precisely where the divide between Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg becomes crystal clear. Maher has always stood by his principles, even when it wasn't easy or popular. He's faced criticism from both sides of the political spectrum, but he's never wavered in his defense of free speech, personal responsibility, and intellectual honesty. His stance is simple: if you believe in something, you don't abandon it the moment things get tough. Whoopi, on the other hand, has repeatedly shown a willingness to shift her position whenever it suits her narrative, whether it's downplaying her wealth to appear relatable, or rewriting historical facts to fit her worldview. She's become the poster child for performative outrage. Time and time again, she's been caught in contradictions, yet somehow she continues to wield her platform without acknowledging her mistakes. As the dust settled on their most recent clash, one thing became clear. This ideological tango between Maher and Whoopi is far from over. Their ongoing feud represents a larger cultural battle being fought across America. One side advocating for open dialogue, uncomfortable truths, and resilience, while the other clings to outrage, censorship, and shifting moral standards. But perhaps the biggest twist of all is that, despite their differences, Maher has continued to extend an olive branch. He refuses to call for Whoopi's cancellation or permanent removal from the view, even after her most egregious missteps. In a world where cancel first, ask questions later has become the norm, Maher's commitment to free speech is both refreshing and rare. Maybe, just maybe, there's a lesson here. Instead of trying to silence those we disagree with, perhaps we should really listen. We might not always like what we hear, but that's the beauty of free speech. It challenges us, forces us to think, and most importantly reminds us that progress comes not from silencing dissent, but from confronting it head on. So what's next for Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg? Only time will tell. Will they find common ground and surprise us all? Or will they continue to lock horns in a never-ending battle of ideals? One thing's for sure, their ideological rivalry makes for compelling viewing. And we'll be here popcorn in hand, ready for the next round.
If you like this video, so don't forget to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon and give your precious reviews in the comment section below.